Welcome. So last class, I spoke about the historical context, foundation, principle of Chan, and introduced the foundational practice of progressive relaxation, how to prime the body, one's heart, and mind. I also spoke about the axiom, Chan axiom of not depending on words and language, and how that figures into the ways in which we create problems for ourselves, the ways in which we are tethered to words and language. And the reasons why Chan principle is to not depend on words and language. And the method of embodiment that cuts through proliferation of ideas and notions. So continuing with that, I want to talk about silent illumination practice. In Chinese is 默照. And this practice or this way of describing Chan was articulated by Chan master Hongzhi Zhengjue in the 12th century. So he was a very articulate, well-read, Chan master, different than other Chan master. He was very well educated. And he wrote many teachings, fleshing out the significance of silent illumination in very literary, poetic ways. So it's very particular to Hongzhi Zhengjue. What I'm trying to say is, in that subsequent Caodong masters didn't really write that way. They didn't give much instructions in silent illumination. So it's not really a Caodong practice. To be frank, it's really Hongzhi's own literary expression, poetic metaphor for awakening, for principles of practice. What made the silent illumination, or 默照, or moksho zen in Japanese, into a thing, it's actually happened in Japan. So, like much of the Southern Song Dynasty Chan phenomena, namely the emergence of Gong'an literature, the emergence of, prior to that, of prose and poetic comments to the words of ancient masters, 颂古 or 年古. All of that tradition really continued on and became a thing in Japan. Whereas in China, the emergence of these phenomena were really a passing fad, if you will. You know, same thing with silent illumination. From the teaching of silent illumination, Hongzhi, we can understand the principles of how he taught. And that principle is founded on shamatha vipassana, calming meditation, and insight meditation. Which is not the invention of Chan at all. It's part of a long, consistent, traditional practice in Buddhism from India all the way through different regions, Southeast Asia to East Asia and so on. So it's not unique. So the principle of the ability to calm the mind, and with a calm mind be able to have the clarity of gaining insight into the mind, right? So calming meditation, insight meditation. Hongzhi articulated a new way of framing these two, the relationship between these two. Instead of sequential, he spoke about calming and insight as two aspects of the same thing. And that same thing is the nature of mind. Now, did he invent this? No. He didn't invent this either. Already in the Platform Sutra of Huinan, attributed to Huinan, which is the sixth ancestral master, this is the place where Huinan explicitly spoke about, in a very Chinese way, the relationship and identity of calming and insight in terms of samadhi and prajna, meditative absorption and wisdom. There's a whole chapter on it in the Platform Sutra. 定慧品, the chapter on samadhi and prajna, and also the chapter on sitting meditation. These ideas are elaborated. Not so much in poetic terms, but the foundation can be traced back there. That's why I say silent illumination in this poetic expression is very much Hongzhi's thing, right? Because he was very literate. very well versed in writing. So he framed it in this, beautiful, metaphorical um, way of silent illumination, 墨照, drawing allusions from nature to articulate this principle. But this principle has been around for a long time. The practice of samadhi, prajna, or calming, wisdom, very traditional Indian practice. The uniqueness of the identity of samadhi and prajna in the Platform Sutra, it spoke about. Samadhi is the essence, prajna is the function. It uses the metaphor of the lamp. The flame of the lamp is samadhi. And the luminosity of the lamp is the functioning of wisdom. So you can't really separate the two. And that lamp is the metaphor for the mind. The functioning of the mind is wisdom. But the essence of mind is already free from distractions, samadhi. Not in the sense of single-minded, pointed concentration, not that kind of samadhi, but just the absence of diluted thinking, discursive thinking, fragments, scatteredness. The mind's nature, essence, is already free. That kind of samadhi. So a kind of reinterpretation of that, the identity of the two. And then Hongzhi kind of elaborated in a poetic way. So the practice of silent illumination as it developed later, first we can see the principles in Hongzhi's writings. And from these principles, what is distinct then is not shamatha vipassana, calming, meditation. It's not samadhi and wisdom. It's the identity of the two. So that principle of practicing meditation in a way that embodies these two becomes the core of silent illumination practice. So the point of meditation is not to enter into a trance, but is to disclose, reveal the natural essence and function of the mind. So the attitude in one's practice and the method shifted. Now, if you have the attitude of, I have to concentrate first, then I can develop insight into the mind, then your attitude shapes the way you practice. That attitude is sequential. The attitude is, I want to get this first in order to get that later. I want to concentrate. That means I don't want wandering thoughts. Wandering thoughts are bad. If I can only get to a state without wandering thoughts, then I can really practice. So that's the subtle attitude that's orchestrating the way one engaging spiritual practice. That's the problem that Chan tackles. Now, when we understand samadhi and prajna, calming and insight, as simultaneous, part of the essence and function of the mind, the natural function of the mind, then the attitude is different. The focus or the spotlight that one shines on is that naturally, intrinsically, the mind is already free. The mind is already without distraction. Are there distractions? Yeah. But it doesn't really hinder the natural essence of mind. It's just like all of you. All of you are in this room. Does it hinder the spaciousness of the room from the perspective of the room? Does it really matter? It doesn't really matter if the room is cluttered or empty. From the perspective of the room, it's still spacious. In fact, it's because of spaciousness that all of you can sit here. With that attitude, and those of you who have eyes closed, you probably should open your eyes. Okay, because you're wandering in la la land. Open your eyes. Because this is very important. If you uphold or have the understanding that the mind is already free, it doesn't really matter how much wandering thought there is. It doesn't hinder the freedom of the mind. Then the way you practice is not sequential anymore. Right? Just like the spaciousness of this room, you don't really mind wandering thoughts. You don't really mind the furniture of this room. Furniture is not the problem. When we hold on to furniture, let's focus on this, focus on this, focus on different things, then we lose sight of the spaciousness of this room. So our sight is on the spaciousness of this room. With that attitude, with this attitude of openness, receptive, embrace of everything that's already present, with this attitude, then the mind naturally rests in its own natural, open, spacious state. Then the wandering will subside by itself. Does that make sense? Now imagine me sitting here, and I keep on focusing on each one of you. Sometimes I look at you, sometimes I look at Mark, the two Marks that's here. It's endless. Endless. Look at here, look at this, look at this, look at Pomona, look at you, look at... endless, pointless. And it's always sequential. I have to look at you first, and then I look at you, and then I look at you, and then I look at you, and then I look at you. No. Not only is it sequential, it's endless. Similarly, if we pay attention to wandering thoughts, whether it's absent or present, it's endless. There's always going to be something. And because we're looking, we're focusing on it, you're stirring up your mind. You're causing waves when there are none. You're stirring up the mind, you're creating the mind that moves. You're creating a mind that looks. Look at this, look. Endless. So the silent illumination principle in practice is, metaphorically speaking, the spaciousness of the room. With all of you in it. Doesn't matter if it's 20 of you, 15 of you. From the perspective of the room, it's all good. You can do your own thing. It doesn't really matter. The mind naturally begins to rest in its own accord. In close alignment with its most natural state, that's free from wandering. It's difficult because our mind is habituated to look at furniture, to get caught up with things. If it's not this thing, then it's this thing. If it's not this thing, then it's something else. It's caught up in words and language. So, you need a foundation in practice. You first have a few things for the mind to look at, like the breath, which is like one furniture, nothing else. The breath disappears, look at something else. The palm of your hand, or the weight of the body. That disappears, you look at something else. Right? Until the mind is at ease, resting in its own state. What is the mind's natural state? Mark?
Awareness.
Awareness. What are some of the other ways to express that? The mind's own natural state. Feeling, sensation. Okay. Anything else? What does the mind do?
No.
It knows its own natural state. Hongzhi talks about this. How to practice silent illumination? Knows without touching things. Remember that? I translated in my book. It knows without touching things. Now, usually, I know this. I know this. It's constantly touching things. I know this. That's what I'm talking about. It's caught up with furniture. When you know this and that, the mind is encapsulated, caught up with this and that, knowing without touching things. That's what's meant by spaciousness of the room. Just experience. Experiencing. That's the most natural state of the mind. Experiencing. Whether it's experiencing sensation or something else. But that's very subtle. It's very subtle for people to get a hold of. What are we talking about here? We're not talking about that which the mind experiences. We're just talking about the function of experiencing. Now, the function of experiencing is already free from wandering. It's already clear. That's what the Platform Sutra, Huinyan, is talking about. Essence and function, always together. In this moment of experiencing, not experiencing this and that, just experiencing, there is no separation of essence and function. There is no separation of samadhi and prajna, shamatha vipassana, calming insight. So you have to get there by focusing on building a good foundation, the breath, the sitting, the body, so on and so forth. Well, you must begin with the correct understanding, correct view, correct attitude. That this is the most important part. already free in this moment. Already spacious, already open. That becomes the guiding view. That becomes the sudden view. That is the sudden practice, sudden awakening of Chan. It's not literally you become awakened right away. You begin with the correct view. And that view is you're already free. If you practice according to this correct view, this correct attitude towards things, then you won't get caught up with wandering thoughts, this and that. You won't have an aversion towards it. You won't want to get rid of it in order to get something else, which is very subtle. We always want to do that. Whenever you have suffering, whenever you feel conflicted, whenever you feel angst, anguished, whenever you experience difficulty, there's always grasping and rejecting. You want this moment to be other than what it is. Always. That's like saying, in the spaciousness of this room, I don't want this furniture, I want something else. So from the perspective of the openness of the room, you can put whatever furniture you want. It's all good. It doesn't obstruct the openness, the spaciousness. Just like the water can be muddled, can have gunk in it, it doesn't change the wetness of the water. Wetness of the water is still wet. So that becomes a very unique way to practice. Does that make sense? How does one actually do it? First, you have to relax the body. And you have to come in contact with the most subtle shaper of our experiences, which is our attitude. Your attitude shapes your experience. So you have to relax the body so you can access this undercurrent feeling tone. And you have to cultivate this attitude of, it's all good, which I call contentment. Contentment, some people like it in another way, like Tom was saying last week. He doesn't really like the word contentment. He says content with something. Fine, if you don't like contentment, what do you like then? I said, he says, equanimity. Okay, equanimity. It's the meaning that matters, it's not the words. In equanimity, in contentment, there's no grasping and rejecting. 取舍没有. So put it in a positive way. Content. It's all good. You have to cultivate this attitude. You understand? Very important. If you don't practice according to this attitude, you're not practicing Chan. You're practicing sequential way of practice, which is, I don't know, Tiantai, Vipassana, Shamatha, whatever, traditional. Gradual. That's the gradual path. You got to get rid of this in order to get that first. Then we can talk about wisdom. No. Chan view, you're already free. Wisdom here. So with that view, it's a whole different orientation. You're developing a whole different relationship to wandering thoughts. If you have cultivated this view towards wandering thoughts, towards difficulty, towards problems in life, towards clashes, suffering, if you develop a whole different orientation to this view of, it's not denying that there's no suffering. It's not denying that the furniture is not actually there. It's just that you're not focused on the furniture. From this view of openness, freedom, then you deal with the problem. Does that make sense? Then you're practicing Chan. That is the meaning of sudden awakening, sudden practice. 顿法. Those of you who speak Chinese. You understand? 不是渐渐的修行，顿悟、顿修。It doesn't mean you're actually awakened, but you practice according to that. So this is what the Lotus Sutra talks about, why the Buddhas have appeared in the world. Why has the Buddhas in the past, present, future appeared in the world? For this great matter, it says, 大事, for this great matter of what the Buddha knows, what the Buddha perceives. 佛所知见, that is the sudden view. You practice according to the Buddha view. What the Buddha knows, what the Buddha perceives. From that practice, this attitude of it's all good, then you deal with, too much furniture in this room, clean it up. But in the midst of cleaning, you won't dislike it. You see? And all the difficult, annoying people in your life, you won't dislike them. You have to deal with them. But from your perspective, it's all good. They're already free. Does that make sense? So it's not hypnotizing yourself into some kind of oblivion. It's all good. There's no problem in the world. Everything is just. There's social justice everywhere, and everyone is already free. That's stupidity. There's no social justice. There's discrimination. There's racism. There's all kinds of problems. There's Boris Johnson. There's Trump. There are all kinds of things. There's Joe Biden. There are all these politics. Yet, the way you engage is from the perspective of it's all good. It's normal. So Chan Master Mazu calls this ordinary mind. 平常心 ordinary mind. Ordinary mind doesn't make a big deal out of something. Right? But the problem with us is we make everything into a thing. And we just make it into a thing and it becomes a big deal. Ordinary mind. It's normal. People generate vexations, people hurting each other, causing suffering. Normal. It's normal in samsara. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Why? They have lived their life in such a way, creating such conditions that have produced exactly the result of those conditions, which is causing suffering for people. It's very normal from that perspective. From your perspective, accept it. And now, out of compassion, we try to help the world. So this relationship I'm talking about, that's what Chan practice is all about. It's about relationship. It's a kind of intimacy. That's what Chan practice is about. It's not grasping, rejecting. It's not about fixing. so intimate that you see the freedom in all beings. You see Buddha nature of all beings. But you also see their vexations. You can't just see one thing, vexations, or just Buddha nature. You see multiple sides, and you're able to engage with the world accordingly. So the actual way to do this on a fundamental level, foundational level, I should say, is we can't cultivate this on an intellectual level, right? Telling yourself, it's all good, it's all good, it's all good. You can't do that. It's just talking to yourself like a monologue. Your energy is up in the head. So you have to relax the body. You have to be grounded so that you're able to access the most subtle undercurrent feeling tone level of how you relate to the world and change that. That is usually sheltered, protected by our defense mechanism, tension with the body, energy in particular parts of the body, all the blockages. So you have to relax the body, feel grounded, and then you have a chance to access how you relate to the world, how you feel about things, how you actually feel about things. Most people don't even know how they feel about things. They're just angry. They're just tense. So, how you actually feel about things. And when you can access that, when you can see it, tension, nervousness, fear, and you relax into it, you can release that, so that you bring yourself in alignment with contentment, equanimity. It's all good. And you practice according to it. Like what we did last time. Relax the body, adjust the feeling tone. That becomes the framing for how you meditate on the breath. So wandering thoughts, it's all right. On the level of the attitude, tension, pain, physical discomfort. Last time I was watching one of you. Obviously, she's not used to sitting meditation. This is her. Sitting. Towards the end, she's like that. A lot of tension. A lot of tension. So I want you to do is smile. Smile. Now, in the beginning, you may be faking your smile. Faking your smile. But you gotta start somewhere. You have to catch yourself. Relax. Catch yourself. The body is so tense. I feel tense just watching her. The tension, radiating off of her body. So, relax your attitude, and just experience. If you don't catch yourself, you're just tense. You're just tense. So in that moment, you already lost the attitude of contentment, of it's all good, equanimity. In that moment, you want it to be other than what it is. That's suffering. That's the short definition of Buddhist notion of suffering. The Buddha talked about 8 different forms of suffering. Basically, all those 8 forms of suffering from the sutras, it's just, I want this to be other than what it is. That's what suffering means. So in that moment, you're already grasping and rejecting this. So catch yourself doing that really excruciating pain. It's furniture, just another furniture. So what? Die. What are you going to do? Let's see where it goes. Do you have the courage to do that? Pain? So what? It's going to break? Let's see what happens. What are you going to break? Break. If it really breaks, no problem. We'll take you to the hospital afterwards. We'll borrow your car, drive you to the hospital, take care. The doctor will say, oh, it's not going to break. It's just painful. So, and then just relax it. So you change the posture. You don't have to do it all at once. If it's too painful, put it, just relax into it, relax into it. And then move it a little bit. Relax into it, relax into it. Attitude, attitude. Then you practice the southern way. How many of you have leg pains? Okay? Normal. It's normal. A little bit of leg pain is good for the body. As long as you're sitting in the correct posture. The reason you're having pain is because you have poor circulation. Why do you have poor circulation? You don't exercise. You don't stretch. You don't meditate. So of course. So the body is trying to adjust to the new posture. It falls asleep and just massage afterwards. After some time, your threshold for pain will be much higher. Much higher. Okay? So how to actually embody this sudden view, sudden practice is relax, access that feeling tone, how you actually feel in the moment. And make it, align yourself with, it's all good. It's all good. It's fine. Pleasant. Content. Equanimous. Not stoic. Don't take equanimity as some kind of no feeling. Neutral. No. No. We call it Dharma joy. That's equanimity. Why is the mind equanimous? Because the polarity of grasping and rejecting, having and lacking is lifted. So the mind is light. Dharma joy. It's all good. That's equanimity. Nothing to do with being stoic, like neutral, no feelings, just neutral feeling, equal. Then you just become like a robot. So that's not practice. So the actual way is to access that, and no matter what method you use, you're practicing Chan. Okay? So you can use the breath, you can use just sitting, you can just simply experience. Just experiencing. Moment to moment to moment freshness of experiencing. Right? Allow the body and mind to do what it naturally does. And since you happen to be sitting, just naturally sit. And the mind is not separate from that, it's just sitting. Okay? So we can practice this a little bit together. We'll take a break. When we come back, I'll do a guided meditation to how to enter into the state. And I'll leave you alone and you can just sit. Right. The most important thing in this is your attitude. Get used to and comfortable with this attitude of contentment, equanimity. It's all good. That attitude. No matter what thing's thrown at you, no matter what difficulty comes up, first you gotta be able to do it when you're sitting. Then in the complexity of life, it's a lot more problematic. In life, whatever thrown at you, you're not moved by it. You're not stoic. Your heart's open, embrace, and then you engage with it. Okay? That's Chan practice. If you don't practice this way, no matter how you teach it, some people can teach silent rumination in a particular way, you gotta do this, do that. If they don't talk about this attitude, this foundational view, approach to practice, then they're not teaching Chan. They're just teaching shamatha vipassana. Even the Tiantai tradition, 5th, 6th century, the Tiantai tradition already spoke about simultaneous practice of shamatha vipassana. They spoke about that, but they don't talk about the view. You see? They talk about it as a technique. What defines Chan is not the method, not the technique. It's what the Lotus Sutra talks about. What the Buddha knows, what the Buddha sees. That becomes the correct view to practice. 佛所知见, that is already free. And then the Buddha doesn't say, already free, I don't need to save all beings. He walked for 45 years on foot, barefoot, throughout India, helping people. He was engaging with all people, all walks of life. You see? So that's the natural function of his compassion. And that compassion is the expression of the wisdom of awakening. Understand? So you know, all of you know clearly what Chan is, right? Yeah, you should say yes. Do you know the Chan view now? Yes? How many of you have questions? Besides Mark back there. Yes, please.
So in Chan, it sounds like compassion is sort of left at the end. So
No, it's right from the beginning.
okay.
Right from the beginning. All good. Everyone's accepted. Everything. Garbage, holy, soiled. Different furniture. Some furniture really needs work. Some furniture needs to be recycled. And some furniture is so pristine, beautiful. Everything in this room already accepted. That's compassion. That's compassion. And then you respond from that perspective. You see? Respond from that perspective. That acceptance. So, right from the beginning, we cultivate a new relationship with ourselves, our own vexations, and everything, everyone. Chan is about relationship. So simultaneous. That wisdom and compassion are not separate. It's not sequential. Like compassion. Oh, you get wisdom first, and then you leave it at the end. It becomes not Chan anymore. You see? Compassion is not necessarily our received notion of compassion. Like, oh, I'm gonna let everyone step over me, always kind with a smile. No, my teacher doesn't have a smile all the time. Especially when he pick on me. He's doing it out of compassion. He accepts me. I've never met anyone who was able to see me, feel me, care for me. That's my teacher. He doesn't seem like, oh, Guru. He's always being sarcastic, laughing at me, or telling me to do this and that, change me. But he's the one who knows me. That's compassion. So people, all of us, need to be seen, need to be heard, need to be loved, accepted. These three. Right from the beginning. Compassion is just a word. It's just the expression of wisdom. And that wisdom is not separateness, not dual. Already free. Imagine meeting someone that don't want anything from you. Most people want something from you. Imagine meeting someone that don't want anything from you, and you're completely accepted as you are. What do you call that? That person is compassionate, yet can guide you. You see? So, although compassion as a word is not featured in Chan, explicitly talked about in Chan, it doesn't mean it's not there. In the Chan discourse record, Yu Lu, Chan lamp histories, Deng Lu, Chan Gong'an. Chan doesn't talk about a lot of things. Chan doesn't even use the word wisdom. Master Yunmen says, I don't like the word Buddha. Every time I use the word, I gotta wash my mouth. So it's not only compassion, all these technical Sanskrit terms and Buddhist lingo, just chuck it right out the window. Just deal with what is actually needed in a Chinese way. You see? So in America, in UK, in the West, you can say it in like it is. You don't have to stick with technical words. Does that make sense? So, like when I teach, it's all good, right? It's all good. Can that be found in the scriptures? It's all good? No, but it's the highest teaching. It's the ultimate teaching in the whole Buddhist canon. It's all good. Yeah. In the United States, I don't know about America, I don't know about UK, but in America, it's all good. It's a slang. Right? Everyone, like African American, Black people, the community, it's all good. It's all good. They talk about it all the time. You see? So depend not on the words, but the meaning. Like the Buddha said. So compassion can't be found in Chan literature. You can't find it. Chan master talk about compassion. You can't even find Chan master talk about 6 paramitas, wisdom, precepts, all the other stuff. Samadhi, prajna, these technical terms. Nothing. Because they have already made it their own. They're living it. You don't need these different words. Okay? So compassion, very important in Chan. Right from the beginning, we cultivate that. Because that's part of what the Buddha knows, what the Buddha sees, what the Buddha experiences. Okay? So anyone who criticizes Chan about no compassion, not emphasizing, they're just relying on words. They don't know what Chan is. They don't know what Zen is. Right? So, very important. So you all know what Zen is, what Chan is on an intellectual level, conceptual level. What is the most important thing? Huh? Compassion. That's the most important thing? Acceptance. Okay? All right. What's the most important thing in Chan practice? Huh? It's all good. Okay. What's the most important thing for you in Chan practice? Up till now, the talk up till now. What did you get out of it? Yes.
I can't see it. Okay.
Quick.
Equanimity.
Equanimity. Okay. Good. Tom? Attitude. Okay. What's all?
Well, as you talk about certain awakening, not separate.
Samadhi and prajna, not separate. Yeah, but the Tiantai tradition talk about that. What's so distinct about Chan then? See? You were going like this when I was talking. Right view. What is the view? You're already free. Okay. Okay. What about you? What did you take out of it?
The natural state of the mind is already perfect.
Okay. Natural state of the mind already perfect. Within perfection, there's all kinds of imperfection, but it's all good. Okay, latecomer. You. What did you get out of it? What's the Chan view? Freedom. Okay. I'm going to call Xiaoma out of Samadhi. What is the Chan view? None? Elaborate on some of that noneness. Gotta pay attention. What makes Chan distinct is that it practice from the perspective of what the Buddha knows, what the Buddha sees, what the Buddha experiences. That's what makes it sudden practice, sudden awakening. And that suddenness is we're already free. So from that, we develop a new relationship to ourselves and to others. Not a relationship founded on polarity, duality, opposition. That's not what the Buddha knows. That's not what the Buddha sees. From that perspective of embrace, and then we engage. Things are problematic, but we also see the potential, the freedom, the possibility in all things. And we continue practice such a way. Okay? All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Bathroom through that door, and get a drink of water or something. Okay. Make yourself comfortable. For the time being, place your hands on your lap. We'll begin with priming the body, relaxing the body section by section. Bring your awareness to the crown of your head. From that point, relax down your forehead, feeling the skin, muscles, relaxing. Coming down to the space between your eyebrows. See if there's tension there. You can relax by raising your eyebrows up, hold, tense up, and let the eyebrows drop, release. Do this a few times. As you do this, feel the sense of release. Allow that sense of release to extend to the eyelids, eyeballs. Don't use your eyes to see anything. Treat them like muscles. Relaxing the whole eye socket. Feeling the skin and the muscles. Relaxing the cheeks. Relaxing your jaw. Follow the jawline from below the ears all the way to your chin. And tuck in your chin. Next, you can wet your lips. And gentle smile. This will give an initial sense of the feeling tone shifting. Just feel that smile. Allow the facial muscles to relax completely. Relax the scalp. From the front, sweep back to the base of the cranium. Top, the sides. Relaxing each follicle of hair, relaxing all the pores, clarifying your energy in the head region. Sweep back. And then from the base of the cranium, sweep down. Relaxing the neck. At this time, rotate your neck from one circular direction to the other direction. Feel the skin, muscles, tendons relaxing. And then we get to the shoulders. Raise your shoulders up, hold, and release. Do that a few times. Really feel the sense of release. Familiarize yourself with what that's supposed to feel like. Okay. The skin, the muscles, the tendons. And then sweep down the two arms, the upper arms, the elbows, lower arms, all the way to the fingertips. Feeling the skin, muscles, tendons, section by section. Now come to the chest. See if you can feel the subtle rise and fall of the chest, following the rhythm of your breath. Now you can use the exhalations to help you to relax. So as you exhale, next, see if you can sense your bodily weight sinking down as you exhale, down towards the earth. Releasing all tension. Do that a few times. Exhale, relax, all the muscles sink down to the abdomen. Then see if you can feel the rise and fall of the abdomen following the rhythm of your breath. Now let's go to the back. The upper back, as you breathe, there's also subtle movements. Subtle expansion, contracting, following the rhythm of your breath. Use your exhalations to help you to relax the upper back muscles. Relax down to the mid-back. The spine is upright, at the same time, naturally, effortlessly relaxed. Exhale, relax down to the lower back. Exhale, relax down to the buttocks. At this time, sway your body from left to right. Find that center point of gravity. Allow the swaying to come to a stop as you find that center. Do the same with front and back. Find that center. Sometimes we're leaning forward without even knowing it. So you gotta find the center and then relax into it. Feeling grounded and rooted to earth. Continuing to relax the hips, thighs, and knees. calves, ankles, and feet. And the contact point to the ground, earth. If you're sitting in a chair, the soles of your feet and your buttocks. If you're sitting on the mat, it's the whole base of your posture, your legs contacting the earth. Now you can place your hands in the meditation posture. Left on top of right, palms up, thumbs touching gently. Feel the thumbs. Shoulders still relaxed. Now that the body is primed, let's take a look at our attitude. How does it feel? Nonchalant? Tweak it a little bit so it's content. Nothing to gain, nothing to lose, nothing to fix, nothing to get rid of. Content not with something, but just in the experiencing of it's all good. It's all right. See if you can feel that. See if you can feel in this experiencing of it's all good. It's pleasant. Without any burden. Everything accepted. Familiarize yourself with this. Allow this experiencing to sink in, to resonate. Just as it is. It's fine. Now, the last ingredient, after having relaxed the body, grounded, with a sense of contentment. Everything's all right. We bring forth the method. For the time being, just sit. The simplicity of this moment. At this moment, you're sitting. How does it feel sitting here? Not intellectually. How do you feel? How does the body feel? Where is the center of gravity? See if you can feel that. Where is the weight of your body? How does that feel? Light as a feather? Just sitting there? Neither heavy nor light? How does it feel? Body relaxed. Attitude. It's all good. Embracing, accepting everything. And yet, at the same time, there is a task to do. And the task is you're sitting. So you're not doing nothing. Doing nothing is not sitting. You're sitting. So experiencing this. Sitting. Embodied. Great, great interest. You're not doing anything else. Great interest in this experiencing of sitting. The most natural experiencing. Uncontrived. See if you can feel, experience, just this sitting. The present is sitting. The sitting is the present. The present is experiencing, embodied. Embodied sitting is the present moment. Don't make the body into a thing. It's not a thing. It's what you happen to be doing, which is sitting. So in the beginning, the embodied experiencing is sitting. And sitting is present moment. Stay with this for a while. And then see if you can feel. Just the embodied experiencing. Just the experiencing. Don't worry about if you're sitting or not, because you're sitting. Just the experiencing. And let go of everything. Just the experiencing. The simplicity of this moment. Attitude, most important. Relationship is what charm practice is about. Cultivating a new relationship, moment to moment. It's all good. Physical discomfort. Wandering thoughts. In the midst of that, how do you feel? You want to get rid of something? You want to get something else? mind is clear, not oblivious. The slightest onset of drowsiness, you have to wake yourself up. If you don't, then you wallow in drowsiness. You've already lost the natural functioning of the mind, which is experiencing. The mind is wrapped up in, caught up in drowsiness. It's become a thing. Okay, join your palms. Place your palm on your lap. Rotate the body. Slowly come out of meditation. And then change directions. And massage. You can loosen your posture if it's painful, your legs. Massage the eyes, the whole face. Relax and massage the scalp. Massage the you can massage the neck, shoulders, arms, the body. As you massage, be aware of the movements and sensations. Massage your back. Lower back, then hips, thighs, calves, feet. Okay. Make yourself comfortable. How was that period of sitting? It's okay? Difficult? Raise your hand if you feel good. Only a few. Okay. What was difficult about it? Wandering thoughts, maybe? Drowsiness? Drowsiness? Okay. So, just move the head, rotate the body, open your eyes. Bring the blood circulation to the head. Rotate. Sometimes you can take a deep breath with your mouth, like this. If you're drowsy, one big gulp of breath. Rotate. The body and mind is conditioned in a particular way. Relax the body, fall asleep. So you want to relax, yet awake. Awake, yet no wandering thoughts. And recondition the body like that. Don't depend on caffeine. A lot of people use caffeine, different chemicals, whatever. Just practice. So your mind is clear, not drowsy. Even when you don't have a good night's sleep, learn to acclimate to a condition of body and mind. Reserve your energy. The mind is still clear. Then more and more, your mind is clear most of the time, irrespective of the condition of the body. You want to get that. Okay, anyone else? Questions? Yes, please.
So I am a very visual person when I am meditating.
Yeah.
So I find myself picturing like my worries like into furnitures, like actual furnitures in the room. And then I find I'm in this room with ugly furnitures here and here and here.
Okay.
And then I'm not sure if it's okay. So in that situation, I just say, okay, I will deal with this furniture later. I will work on it later. And then I find myself, yeah, more calm. And
So that actually works? Telling yourself that actually works?
I think it works.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if that's correct.
So you tend to be very visual. How many of you were not able to hear what she said? Okay. All right, so she tends to be very visual when she sits in meditation. Worries, things that come up are actually furniture. She actually sees the furniture. And there are ugly furniture around, dilapidated, whatever. So she just tells herself, okay, I'll deal with it later. And just, she sees it, and then she can tell herself not to be caught up with the furniture, and that seems to be okay. And the question is that correct? Is that right or wrong? The great thing about Chan practice is that, and the method, is that there's no really right or wrong. What's right for one person may be wrong for another. The most important part is your attitude. Your attitude. So if your attitude is, all this ugly furniture, okay, let's stop it. I don't want to deal with you. Come back later. Deal with it later. So calm myself. Then in that, there's polarity working. I don't want this, I want that, get away from me. So you have to be in tune with how you actually feel. Right? So the furniture's around, you're very visual. Don't get caught up with the furniture. You're the actual space. So furniture, do whatever you want. That's all right. That attitude is very different. The reason I ask you if it works or not is because usually when we talk to ourselves, it doesn't really work for that long. Right? So the furniture will come back, hey, I need your attention. Come. We're actually a lot of fun. So what you don't want to do is keep on talking to yourself. You don't want to keep on talking to yourself. Maybe the first time, okay, remind yourself, it's all good, you're just sitting. But you want to come back to the actual palpable, embodied experiencing of sitting. Ground yourself in that as opposed to in talking. Right? So see things, you see visual things, yeah, it's fine. I'm all right. It's all good. Just sit. And then this just sit is not just the idea, just sit. It's actually, you're actually sitting here. So you come back to the reality of what is actually happening. You see? So that's most important. Yeah, yeah. You ever seen in the British Museum or the VA Museum, I can't remember which one. There's a statue of the Buddha. He's not like this. He's like this. This is a mudra of the earth witnessing the Buddha. Here. He's not out there. He's not talking to himself. I'm right here, sitting. So it's kind of like that. So you're actually here, sitting. So telling ourselves can be a kind of expedient means in the beginning because we're so used to talking to ourselves. So it's fine. Eventually, when you talk to yourself, like, okay, colorful things, furniture, actually, so ugly. Oh, that's beautiful. Oops. No ugly, beautiful. Talk to yourself, and then I come back to myself sitting. And then don't leave it up here. I'm just sitting. Like actually, sitting. Like that. Okay. Anyone else? Yes. Lady in the back? Woman? Okay, if there's a mindfulness state, how long does it take for a person to be mindful? Okay? Okay, second question is it better to do to have a timer, to set a duration of time, or just sit whenever one feels like it, basically? Okay. What's your name? Udan? Dan? Okay, Dan. So I'm going to call your name. You're going to reply yes, okay? Dan? It's a little late. So how long does it take to answer your first question? How long does it take for you to respond? Dan? That's natural. That's how long it takes for the mind to be mindful. Now, you may lose it right away, but here, mindful of sitting. So, if in this moment you're mindful, then you're here. You're already here. In the next moment, if you lose it, I'll bring you back to here. The reason I say that is, if we think in terms of how long would it take for me to get to a very mindful state, then that thing is not here. So in that kind of mentality, that way of thinking is having, lacking. Gaining, I'm going to lose this because this is not mindful. This kind of polarized, oppositional way of thinking, that's the actual problem that prevents us from being mindful. See? It's like a dog and the tail. Dog is always chasing the tail. because it's some distance looking at a tail, tail. So I want you to start thinking, where's the tail? Here. It's already here. You already have a tail. No need to chase. Mindful. Gotta think like that. You gotta catch yourself thinking, I don't have it, but I want to get it. How long does it take? 2 weeks? Too long, I don't have time. A month? A year? Right now. Right now. You're in tune with the body. I'm here. This is to be mindful, to be present. Okay? You may not be satisfied with that answer. You may really want to know, like, how long did it actually take? Okay? Yeah. Yeah. No. In the midst of you want to think, in this big room, all of you are here, right? Already here. In this big room. It is my mindfulness that can embrace all these wandering thoughts. So, right here. Want you to do whatever you want. I'm here. Don't look at the furniture. Like I said, look at this, look at that. Oh, there's another one. Oh, another one. Another one. Endless. So don't pay attention to the minutiae, the branches of the tree. It's just the root, tree, here. Right? So, wandering thought, don't follow, don't reject. It's all part of being here. You gotta cultivate this kind of relationship with yourself, with your wandering thoughts. Otherwise, very subtly, you want to get rid of wandering thoughts so you can get to the mindful state. That's dangerous. That's not charm. That is sequential practice. That's not sudden practice. It's not the view of charm. That very way of thinking, of having, lacking. I want to get it. I want to get rid of. That's what stirs the mind. You see, not only you, all of us. That's what stirs the mind. That's what creates the problem in the first place. Don't follow that kind of thought, that kind of thinking. So you're aware of wandering thought. In that moment that you're aware, actually, you're here. That's why the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment, 圆觉经 says, 知就是觉. Awareness itself is awakening. It's liberation. You're already free. So, to the first question, from the charm perspective, catch yourself when you think in those kind of oppositional ways. And then, don't follow that. I'm already here. Wandering thought, aware, here, right here. So the freshness of this moment to moment, freshness. The reality of this moment sitting. It's all good. Okay. The second question. Always when you begin to practice meditation, it's an appointment with ourselves. It's an appointment with ourselves to get used to the right attitude to practice. That's more important than how much wandering thought do I have. Oh, today's pretty few, less. Last time was really a lot. That's not that important. The most important thing is cultivate, change the whole orientation of how you are. The whole way you relate to yourself and others. This acceptance, complete openness. That's an appointment with yourself. So just like any appointment, make an appointment, half an hour. Set the alarm. You see? Always get used to that. And then every day you have half an hour. So your neurological synaptic firing, the patterning, becomes rewired in a way that's embracing, accepting, openness. Every day you cultivate this, then it will start to translate to other areas of your life. Annoying people, difficult situations, problematic. You can, when you call up your practice, you'll be able to be grounded. Does that make sense? You can't call up. If you practice, try to have less wandering thoughts, which is most people do that. How can you use that in daily life? Your practice is separate from your life. So you have a difficult person come, no thought. That's what you call up. No thought, no thought. People just slap you right across the face. You're not responsive. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Right? So you're not engaging. That kind of practice, not so useful. See? Your practice is from the basis, the foundation, grounded in the natural freedom that we are in this moment. Right? Free, accepting, engage from that angle. So much more useful. It's not about wandering thoughts, lack of. The beautiful thing is, when we cultivate from that sudden approach, naturally, wandering thoughts, they diminish. Because you're not counting them. You're not focusing on them. You're not always caught up with them. Then you don't add oil to the flame. Then naturally, your mind is open and clear. Does that make sense? So much more useful. And then you're able to engage from that perspective. Okay? But practice, half an hour. Use an alarm. Give yourself an appointment to rewire the way you relate to yourself and the world. And so this is one distinct, sudden approach to Chan practice. Next week, I'll introduce another, second distinct approach to sudden Chan practice. It's called 公案话头. It's very different. Silent illumination, it's like a radical acceptance. So radical, it's in perfect alignment with our freedom, our self-nature, right from the beginning. Silent illumination. 公案话头 practice, it's another radical approach. A very confrontational approach. So we'll learn about that one too. Okay, any other question? Yes, Mark.
We've looked at two techniques, working with breath
Mm-hmm.
and just sitting.
Mm.
So when should we just sit and when should we work with the breath?
Okay. We've learned so far two techniques, working with the breath and just sitting. When should we do one or the other? Establish a good foundation. Start with the breath. Either technique that you use, you're still cultivating the most important thing, which is the attitude, that feeling tone. It's all good. It doesn't really matter what technique, right? What matters is the habit conditioning of our mind. If it's a lot of wandering thoughts, racing, the foundation is probably not stable. The attitude, you can't hold on to it. You're just talking to yourself. Right? So work with the breath. Work with the breath. Until you have some experiential foundation to this attitude that I'm talking about. Palpable. You're working with the breath. It's all good. Wandering thoughts slowly diminish by themselves.
So maybe just sitting is for when the mind is quietened a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be more effective. Remember, the more complicated the method, easier to do. The more difficult the method, the simpler. Right? So always establish a good foundation. Okay? Yes, last question.
So I guess my intellectual understanding of, I guess what we're trying to attain, if you could call it that, is bringing the it's all good out of the conceptual realm and into sort of embodied understanding of what that is. So something that, rather than just thinking, all right, that's what we need to be doing, you actually, beyond that, feel it in yourself. And you get a glimpse of that when you're sitting, doing your practice. Those wandering thoughts naturally can fade away. But I guess on a practical level, there's a tendency, certainly for myself, I think quite a lot of other people, you have your practice, your half an hour in your little spot where you always sit, and you go there and everything's great, and you're sort of feeling very peaceful, feeling that kind of glimpse of the true self, if you want to call it that. But then when you leave, go into the world, do your job, whatever, you kind of, it becomes like almost the two different things. So there's like a separation. I guess on a practical level, my question would be, is there like almost a mini practice during the day when we're away from our sitting, if you're getting lost in the daily humdrum, just to sort of go, oh wait.
Yeah, good question. I teach something called 1 minute chant. Have you heard of it? 1 minute chant. I used to call it 1 Manhattan minute chant, like New York City, Manhattan. So the principle of practice is essentially relax, ground, engage with that openness. Right? It's all good. So that 1 minute chant, you practice the same. So I ask my students here, pick 5 things throughout the day, something that they already do, so they have no excuse not to do it. It's not an additional thing you have to do. 5 more things. No, it's brush your teeth, first bite of lunch. The British, you like to drink tea, right? Tea, making tea. And the same flight of stairs. Something you already do. When you do them, first relax, ground, in tune with the body, and frame your embodied experience in that attitude, and then engage. So throughout the day. So I ask this because in those 5 times, there's bound to be some problem that come up. You're relaxing, someone bumps over you, or step on your feet, or busy, your boss is yelling at you. Wonderful. Those are the time you learn to rewire, rewire your relationship with yourself, with others. in that attitude, right, throughout the day. Pick something that's innocuous, easy, not so complicated, for 3 months. And then after that, 3 more months, you already grounded yourself every day. It's a discipline now. Pick 5 more things that's complicated. Engage in thinking, talking with people. So you're like talking, relax, ground, engage. It's all good. The person may be yelling at you. Pick your boss, or pick the difficult person. Every time you see your boss, John Hall, that's my John Hall. Right? You can't do that right away. Okay? So throughout the day, you have these mini practices, as you say. And then it becomes consistent. Okay? How many of you have heard me saying this? Manhattan Minute? How many of you actually do it? Okay, good. If you don't do it, then of course we're not really proficient at it. Right? So if you do it, and then there will be times in which really difficult things arise in our life. Even if we practice it, we can't do it. But because we have a foundation, we can more quickly bring ourselves to the practice. You know? Especially during this pandemic, there's this undercurrent tone, not of contentment. The whole world around us, everyone, this undercurrent tension. Because our foundation, our routine, our life is being shaken in this pandemic. So the undercurrent basis of our life and our interaction is just tension. So people relate to each other. A lot of things are erupted, opened up during this pandemic. Because the foundation is shaking, has been shaken, so things come up. Health-wise, interpersonally. So sometimes we can't practice, sometimes things come up and we have to remind ourselves to practice. But generally, sitting practice, and then 5 1-minute chant. Okay. All right. Go over time a little bit. Thank you.